So thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Live.
生です。
生です。Do you know what day it is today? National holiday? Not the national holiday. It's not a holiday. We have to go. We have to work. But National Day of, we're celebrating a day of tell fairy tales or whatever the stories that you've heard from your grandparents or some favorite stories, or cultural stories, something like that.
Yeah.
So then I invite you to explore our 日本語で読書 Japanese teachers reading resource.
Aesthetics, I think.
Yes, you're right.
I think.
Because it's a beautiful, preserved, somewhat, I feel, folklore and mythical stories or like beautiful stories. Often we get to see a lot of art. So I think I'd like to go into this page. So you teach at the private school setting. I'm basically from a public school setting. And in public schools, we try to tend to not to touch too much religion side. How is it like private school?
Oh, well, at my school, it's important because actually my school is an Episcopal school.
Okay.
So we have a connection to a faith tradition, a faith. And so studying religion is part of our curriculum. And I'm proud of our school. We have a kind of although it is Episcopal, they have a very open-minded approach. So we're encouraged to study religion and, but study it with an open mind and an open heart. So
I see.
Yeah.
So what do you think of these? I feel, often a lot of stories gets faith issues or covers faith part, huh?
Right. Well, but you can't remove that, from the culture.
Right.
So
no, you can't.
And so this week the Byobu no Tora, that is that's important for studying Japanese culture.
Okay. So yeah, I was thinking this might be something interesting because it's got a lot of perspectives and the character that's in it is, his name is Ikkyu-san. Is religiously Buddhism. It becomes they don't talk about religion, but the background is Buddhism. Cultural background. So so I'm gonna go over this Byobu no Tora, and I guess I'm gonna read this. But I think there's a role. Let me see. Okay, so we go here. And so instead of just me reading, maybe you can be another character.
Oh, sure.
Okay, wonderful. Shall we
it's a
try?
Good thing sure. Yeah.
You think you looked at it?
Yes, good thing I looked at the kanji first.
Oh, me too. I get nervous when I see between two kanji, not familiar, not too familiar. Okay, let's just read it and then we'll come back to talk about it. 屏風の虎、昔々小僧がいました。小僧の名前は一休でした。一休さんは面白くてアイデアがたくさんあってとても頭が良かったです。ある日、将軍が一休さんを城に呼びました。将軍は一休さんと知恵比べをしたかったのです。
将軍、一休さん、助けてください。
一休さん、将軍様、どうしましたか？
将軍、城に怖い虎がいます。
一休さん、虎はどこですか？
将軍、虎はこの屏風から出てきます。
一休さん、わあ、怖い虎ですね。一休さん、私が虎を捕まえましょ
将軍、本当ですか？ありがと
う。一休さん、縄をください。
う。将軍、はい、どうぞ。
一休さんは縄を持ちました。一休さん、将軍様、私が縄で縛るから虎を屏風から出してください。
将軍、
はい。
私は屏風の虎は出すことはできません。この虎は絵だからです。
一休さん、あ、そうですか。よかったです。安心しました。一休さん、虎は屏風から出ませんね。じゃあ、この虎は怖くないですね。
将軍、一休さんは頭がいいですね。それに勇気があります。将軍、また私の城に遊びに来てください。
一休さん、将軍様、ありがとうございます。終わり。Okay, these are the credits. Would you be able to use this story or this maybe supplemental material storyline in your Japanese class?
Oh, I think so. For talking about religion and historical aspects, and I'm no expert or anything, but I know that I've encountered EQ-san before.
Okay.
I know his character. I know, and I I really am only, starting to realize, how extensively he appears in stories. I mean, there's a whole
Mm,
bunch of stories about
mhm,
EQ. Go to Little Tokyo, a Zen temple down in Little Tokyo, and the minister has
mhm.
refers to these stories, as in to teaching the congregation. So I see that it's really an active part of the culture. So I think this is a really good material to use, and it's short and it's interesting. Since I'm also a learner, I'm a
Mhm,
teacher and a learner. Of course, I don't know all this kanji, so I just this
mhm,
time for myself,
mhm,
I started a Google Doc, and because I made a copy of the story, and I had the slides, and I could highlight the kanji that I didn't know, and I
mhm,
looked it up, and then while I was reading it, I just made a vocabulary list for myself, for my older students, for extensive reading. If they find a story that they like, I would share the process that I went through and encourage them to do something. If there's some words that you really want to know, then just keep track if you want to. You don't have to, but
Oh,
so it was so easy to make a vocab list, from this,
okay.
because I could just cut and paste, and then I used jisho.org, and I just made a little vocab list, and I could use that vocab list to pre-teach if I wanted to, but
Mhm,
or
okay.
I could just, now that I have the list. So when when I make this story available to my students on
Mhm,
our class website,
mhm,
then I'll just attach the vocab list that I made. So it might be less daunting, for the students if they don't have to look everything up, and they
mhm.
can glance at that if they want to know what the kanji is. I mean, because if
It's
you don't have
wonderful.
enough energy to look it up, then you won't bother to read. I just like that the language is really simple. Yeah. I mean, the kanji was daunting,
Mhm,
but the sentences are not. So I just like that. And I think, since personally I attend a Zen temple, I appreciate seeing this familiar figure, but I don't know if my students will, I mean, it's useful to see this because it is so commonly a part of the culture and the
Oh, I
stories.
see.
Here is where the shogun's motivation is revealed, right? So this is kind of a key page, I think.
Okay.
So I think what his motivation is. It could be confusing, right? Because you can't really see that in the images.
Oh,
so
that's
he wants to
right.
test him. He wants to test EQ-san. So
Yes,
so
that's
you
right.
kind of have to read between the lines here. This is kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of subtle. He wants to challenge EQ-san. He wants to test him. But it doesn't exactly say that. It says he wants to compare his knowledge or compare himself with EQ-san. So EQ-san is being kind of set up, right? I don't know this. So I think one could easily miss this. It could be overlooked, So maybe you might need to, if students don't know this in advance, I think it would require some, but you do have to know a little bit intentions of the shogun.
How's the expression? How's the as far as comprehensible input goes?
Oh yeah, it's very helpful. And like in the previous page, the speech bubble and their gestures here, and all of these things are helpful. I know my students are very good at the ones who read manga and the ones who watch anime. They know they're familiar with what like those face indicators mean. So it's very helpful.
I personally enjoyed the fact that this was a student's perspectives. They express this way.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to share this with the learners. That the material is made by the learner. Pretty effective, I think.
It is. I think it makes it more approachable.
Approachable.
Pretty clear. This is. Well, what is he going to do with a rope? A rope with a tiger and a screen. I mean, it is very intriguing.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's going to catch the tiger for him. I guess so here is where actually the EQ catches the shogun in his own test,